Ava Montgomery stood at her floor-to-ceiling window in her Marina district apartment, watching the Dubai sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. At 26, she had already achieved what many of her Portland State classmates were still dreaming about: a prestigious position performing at Dubai's most exclusive venues. As she traced her reflection in the glass, she couldn't help but marvel at how far she'd come from her modest Oregon upbringing. Born to middle-class parents in Bend, Oregon, Ava had always been marked by an insatiable ambition. Her father, a high school teacher, and her mother, a nurse, had instilled in her the value of education and hard work. Throughout her childhood, Ava had watched her parents scrimp and save, taking extra shifts to ensure she could attend the best dance academies. Their sacrifice had paid off when she earned a partial scholarship to Portland State's dance therapy program. In college, Ava had distinguished herself not just through her technical excellence but through her innovative approach to belly dance fusion. Her thesis on Middle Eastern dance as therapeutic art had caught the attention of several dance instructors. When she saw a video of American dancers performing in Dubai's luxury venues, earning more in one night than she made in a month, Ava knew it was her chance to break into something extraordinary. The transition to Dubai in January 2023 had been both exhilarating and overwhelming. The city's gleaming skyscrapers and endless opportunities seemed to perfectly align with her ambitions. Within her first month, working grueling tourist shows for $50 a night, Ava had already caught the attention of Yasmin Al-Khoury, a Lebanese dance instructor who recognized raw talent beneath inexperienced technique. Her cramped shared apartment in Deira felt like a palace compared to her old studio in Portland. The company had arranged for her accommodation in a building with views of the creek, a far cry from her childhood home in Oregon. Ava had quickly adapted to the expatriate lifestyle, joining various professional networking groups and making friends with other young performers from around the world. Yasmin Williams, a British expatriate who worked as a choreographer, had become her closest friend and guide to navigating life in Dubai. You have to understand, Yasmin had told her over coffee at their favorite Marina cafe, Dubai operates on a different frequency. It's not just about what you know, it's about who you know. Ava took this advice to heart, accepting every invitation to networking events and industry parties. Her natural charm and intelligence made her a welcome addition to the expatriate social scene. She learned to navigate the delicate balance between Western openness and local cultural respect, always ensuring her performances and behavior were appropriate for the conservative business environment while maintaining the sensuality that made her marketable. It was at a luxury entertainment showcase in March 2023 that Ava's life took its fateful turn. The event was being held at the iconic Mirage nightclub, and Ava had spent extra time preparing her presentation of traditional Lebanese dance techniques. As she stood center stage, confidently delivering her performance to a room full of industry leaders, she noticed one particular attendee paying close attention. Farid Khoury, a prominent 45-year-old Lebanese businessman known for his investments in luxury entertainment, sat in the VIP section, occasionally nodding at her movements. His presence alone added weight to the showcase. The Khoury family was known for their significant influence in Dubai's hospitality community. After her performance, as attendees mingled during the networking session, Farid approached her. "Miss Montgomery," he said, his English perfect with just a hint of an Arabic accent. "Your interpretation of traditional Lebanese movements is quite impressive." His presence was commanding, dressed in an immaculate navy suit, his graying beard neatly trimmed. Ava felt a flutter of professional pride at the compliment. "Thank you, Mr. Khoury. I believe Middle Eastern dance traditions deserve respect and authentic representation," she replied, her training in cultural sensitivity evident. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on dance history and the future of entertainment in the region. That initial meeting led to a series of professional interactions. Farid's company became interested in featuring Ava at their premier venue, and she found herself increasingly involved in projects connected to his business interests. Her colleagues noted her rising star, attributing it to her innovative ideas and professional demeanor. Ava's life settled into an exciting rhythm. Her days were filled with rehearsals, performances, and events in Dubai's most prestigious venues. She began to receive invitations to exclusive gatherings where Dubai's elite mingled with international artists. Her Instagram feed transformed from casual shots of Marina life to sophisticated photos at high-profile locations. Her parents, watching their daughter's success from afar, expressed both pride and concern. "You're living the dream, sweetheart," her mother said during their weekly video calls. "Just remember to stay grounded." Ava would laugh, assuring them she was still the same girl who used to practice dance routines in their garage. But Dubai had a way of shifting perspectives. The constant exposure to extreme wealth and luxury began to normalize experiences that would have seemed extraordinary just months before. Private venue performances, helicopter tours of the city, and dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants became regular occurrences in Ava's calendar. Her role in Dubai's entertainment scene continued to expand. By the end of March 2023, she was managing her own bookings at some of the city's most prestigious venues. Her income had increased tenfold, and her reputation had been elevated to reflect her growing responsibilities. The expatriate community embraced her success story. Young performers sought her advice on career advancement, and she was featured in a local arts magazine as one of Dubai's rising stars in Middle Eastern dance. Ava began receiving performance invitations from other Emirates, establishing herself as a cultural bridge between Western technique and traditional artistry. Farid's continued interest in her work seemed to open more doors. His recommendations led to new venues and opportunities, and Ava's association with his projects enhanced her professional reputation. If she noticed his lingering glances during meetings or the way he would single her out for conversations at events, she attributed it to professional respect and cultural mentorship. Yasmin, however, saw something else. Over dinner at a rooftop restaurant one evening, she cautiously broached the subject. "Ava, be careful with Mr. Khoury. His attention might be flattering, but remember the cultural complexities here." Ava dismissed her friend's concerns, assuring her that everything was strictly professional. As spring turned to summer in Dubai, Ava's star continued to rise. She was invited to join exclusive cultural councils and began participating in luxury hospitality think tanks. Her understanding of both Western and Middle Eastern performance approaches made her valuable in an industry that was increasingly focused on bridging these markets. Yet beneath the surface of her professional success, subtle changes were beginning to appear. Ava started spending more time at late-night strategy meetings. Her phone would buzz at odd hours with business messages, and her once active social media presence became more curated and reserved. Her collection of designer costumes grew, justified as necessary for her position in the luxury entertainment sector. Looking back, those early months in Dubai would seem like a dream, a glittering prelude to events that would shake her world to its core. But in those moments, Ava Montgomery was living her version of the Dubai dream, unaware that her rising star was drawing her into an orbit from which she would not be able to escape. As May 2023 drew to a close, Ava stood once again at her apartment window, watching the city lights twinkle below. Her phone buzzed with another message from Farid, another private meeting, another opportunity to advance her career. She replied with her usual professional courtesy, unaware that she was taking the first steps down a path that would lead to tragedy. The transition happened so gradually that Ava barely noticed it at first. June 2023 brought a series of high-profile performances that seemed to naturally flow from her growing professional success. Farid's influence had opened doors to Dubai's most exclusive venues, and Ava found herself increasingly drawn into a world that existed far above her already comfortable expatriate lifestyle. It began with a particularly emotional performance at Mirage after a difficult conversation with her mother about her father's new family. Ava had thrown herself into the dance with an intensity that left the audience mesmerized, but afterward, alone in the dressing room, the weight of her isolation in Dubai crashed over her. When Farid found her there, tears streaming down her face, his comfort felt like salvation. "You're so far from home," he said softly, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "I understand that loneliness." The kiss that followed seemed inevitable, born from vulnerability and the intoxicating mix of his cologne and whispered reassurances. In that moment, Ava's professional boundaries dissolved into something she told herself was deeper than mere attraction. "My marriage is complicated," Farid explained during their first private dinner the following week. "Layla and we're more like business partners now. You wouldn't understand the cultural pressures, the expectations. His words painted a picture of a man trapped by tradition, and Ava's romantic heart ached for his apparent suffering. The secrecy added an intoxicating element to their relationship. Private dining rooms in five-star hotels, weekend getaways to Abu Dhabi's most exclusive resorts, yacht parties where Ava was introduced simply as a cultural consultant. Each clandestine meeting deepened her emotional investment while simultaneously isolating her from her normal support system. Yasmin noticed the changes first. "You're different," she observed during one of their increasingly rare coffee meetings. "More secretive. Those gifts you're wearing, where are they coming from?" The Cartier watch, the Van Cleef earrings, the designer handbags that appeared with perfectly reasonable explanations but raised questions Ava didn't want to answer. By July, Ava had moved to a luxury penthouse in Marina Walk. "For security reasons," Farid had explained. "Your profile is rising, and prominent performers need proper accommodations." The apartment came fully furnished with pieces that matched her supposed newfound status. Her Instagram posts became carefully curated glimpses into a life of luxury that seemed almost unreal to her family back home. The financial control was subtle but complete. All her expenses flowed through Farid's business accounts, from her rent to her designer wardrobe to her exclusive gym membership. She told herself it was temporary, just until her career reached the level where she could afford such luxuries independently. The reality was that she had become entirely dependent on his generosity. Meeting Layla at industry events created a constant undercurrent of guilt. The older woman was elegant and intelligent, everything a successful businessman's wife should be. Their brief interactions were polite but charged with intention Ava couldn't quite understand. Farid's dismissive comments about his wife, "She doesn't appreciate the artistic world like you do," helped Ava rationalize her involvement in destroying another woman's marriage. The August pregnancy scare changed everything momentarily. Farid's reaction was cold and calculating, discussing options and damage control, rather than expressing any emotion about potentially becoming a father. For 48 hours, Ava glimpsed the man behind the romantic facade, but when the test proved negative, his warmth returned so completely that she convinced herself she had imagined his momentary cruelty. Yasmin's warnings became more direct as summer progressed. "You're not the first girl he's taken special interest in," she revealed during a tense conversation. "There have been others. Beautiful, talented dancers who became his protégés and then disappeared from the scene." But Ava's emotional dependence had grown too strong to accept such warnings. She accused Yasmin of jealousy and gradually cut contact with her oldest friend in Dubai. Meanwhile, Ava Khoury was conducting her own investigation. Hotel staff whispered about unusual room charges and frequent business dinners, involving the same young American dancer. Credit card statements revealed a pattern of expensive gifts that didn't align with legitimate business expenses. Unlike previous affairs that had been brief and easily contained, this relationship showed signs of emotional investment that threatened her family's carefully maintained stability. The confrontation came in late August. Layla presented her evidence calmly, demanding an immediate end to the affair. "Handle it quietly," she told Farid, "or I will handle it publicly." The ultimatum carried weight. Layla's family connections could destroy his business empire if she chose to make their marital problems a public scandal. Farid found himself trapped between his wife's threats and Ava's increasing emotional demands. The relationship that had begun as entertainment was becoming a liability, but Ava's romantic nature made simple dismissal impossible. She had begun talking about their future together, about the life they would build once he resolved his situation with Layla. September brought the revelation that would seal Ava's fate. The pregnancy test was positive this time, and her joy was immediate and overwhelming. She envisioned this as the catalyst that would finally force Farid to choose her, to leave his complicated marriage and build something real with her and their child. When she told him over dinner at Atlantis, his shock was genuine but quickly masked by the calculating expression she had learned to fear. "We need to discuss our options carefully," he said, his voice controlled. "This changes everything." But for Ava, lost in dreams of motherhood and legitimacy, those words sounded like a promise rather than a threat. She gave him an ultimatum that would prove fatal: choose me and our baby, or lose me forever. In her naivety, She believed love would conquer the cultural and financial obstacles that stood in their way. Farid's response was to suggest a private meeting to discuss their future seriously. A neutral location, he said, where they could talk without interruption. The hotel rooftop would provide privacy and a beautiful setting for what Ava hoped would be the most important conversation of their relationship. As she prepared for that meeting, choosing her dress carefully and rehearsing the words that would secure their future together, Ava had no way of knowing that Farid had already decided their relationship would end that night. The only question remaining was whether she would disappear quietly, like the others before her, or if more permanent measures would be necessary. The last week of Ava Montgomery's life began like any other in Dubai's glittering business district, but beneath the surface, tensions had reached a breaking point. September 8th marked the beginning of 7 days that would transform from hope to horror with deadly precision. Ava's behavior had become increasingly erratic as the pregnancy symptoms intensified. Morning sickness made her regular performances difficult, and her emotional volatility was noticed by staff at Mirage. She would burst into tears during rehearsals, then laugh with manic energy minutes later. Her demands for Farid's attention grew more desperate and public, creating scenes that made other employees uncomfortable. "I'll give you until Friday to decide," she told him during a heated argument in his office that could be heard through the walls. Club staff exchanged worried glances as Ava's voice rose in desperation. She had scheduled her first prenatal appointment for September 18th and spoke constantly about baby names and nursery plans, as if her fantasy of domestic happiness could become reality through sheer force of will. Meanwhile, Farid faced mounting pressure from all sides. Layla called daily, her patience exhausted after weeks of watching her husband's continued distraction. His business partners questioned his focus as important deals stalled while he managed his personal crisis. The woman who had once been a pleasant diversion had become a threat to everything he had built over 15 years in Dubai. Farid's response was methodical and chilling. He quietly moved assets to offshore accounts, ensuring his wealth would be protected regardless of the scandal's outcome. He studied hotel security systems and staff schedules, identifying vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The romantic dinners and yacht outings of their early relationship were replaced by cold calculation as he planned for multiple contingencies. The invitation came on Wednesday, a romantic dinner at the Atlantis Marina Hotel to celebrate their future. Ava received the message with overwhelming joy, convinced that her ultimatum had finally forced his decision. She spent Thursday shopping for the perfect dress, getting her hair styled, and calling her mother with unusual emotion, though she couldn't explain why she felt so sentimental. Yasmin made one final attempt to reach her former friend, showing up at Ava's apartment with desperate warnings about Farid's pattern with previous dancers. But Ava was beyond listening, dismissing the concerns as jealousy and ordering Yasmin to leave. That evening, Ava saved every loving message Farid had sent, preserving what she believed was evidence of their commitment. September 15th, 11:30 p.m. The rooftop terrace of the Atlantis Marina Hotel offered a breathtaking view of Dubai's glittering skyline. Farid had arranged the perfect romantic setting, candles, champagne, the city lights twinkling 30 floors below. To Ava, arriving in her carefully chosen dress, it seemed like the culmination of all her dreams. Initially, Farid maintained his loving facade. He listened as Ava shared her excitement about their baby, her plans for their future together, even the names she had chosen. But as the evening progressed, his mask began to slip. "It was never real, Ava," he said finally, his voice devoid of the warmth she had fallen in love with. "You were entertainment. A distraction." The words hit her like physical blows. "But what about our baby? Our love?" she whispered, her world crumbling around her. Farid methodically destroyed every illusion she had cherished. He detailed the calculated nature of their relationship, the manipulation, the lies. He revealed that she wasn't the first dancer to receive his special attention, and she wouldn't be the last. Other women had played this same role before disappearing from Dubai's entertainment scene. As the truth sank in, Ava's desperation transformed into determination. She threatened to expose everything: their affair, his pattern of exploitation, the business irregularities she had noticed. "I won't let you ruin this baby's life," she declared, her hand protectively over her stomach. Farid's transformation was complete. The charming businessman vanished, replaced by someone cold and dangerous. "You'll destroy everything I've built," he said, blocking her path as she tried to leave. The struggle was brief but desperate. Security cameras captured moving shadows on the terrace until 11:52 p.m., when the system mysteriously glitched. 3 minutes of static would hide the moment when Ava Montgomery's dreams ended 30 floors above the city that had promised her everything. When the cameras resumed recording at 11:55 p.m., the terrace was empty except for the gentle sway of curtains in the desert breeze. By morning, hotel maintenance would discover her broken body in the courtyard below, and Farid would begin the performance of his life, that of a shocked business partner mourning a troubled young woman's tragic suicide. The official investigation was swift and superficial. Ava's death was classified as suicide within days, her story becoming another cautionary tale about young expatriates struggling with cultural isolation and depression. Farid's alibi was solid, his reputation unassailable, and within weeks, another beautiful young dancer had taken Ava's place at Mirage. But some secrets refused to stay buried, and Ava's story was far from over. Yasmin Khoury couldn't sleep. 3 weeks had passed since Ava's funeral, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw her former student's face, not the broken body discovered in the hotel courtyard, but the vibrant young woman who had arrived in Dubai full of dreams and determination. The official suicide ruling felt like salt in an open wound, and Yasmin's guilt grew heavier with each passing night. She replayed every warning sign she had missed, every opportunity to intervene more forcefully. The late-night calls from Ava, the expensive gifts that appeared without explanation, the gradual isolation from friends and fellow dancers. Most haunting of all was their final conversation, when Ava had dismissed her concerns as jealousy and ordered her to leave. Yasmin had walked away when she should have stayed and fought harder. The decision to act came during a sleepless night in early October. Yasmin realized that accepting the official story meant abandoning not just Ava's memory, but potentially other young women who might follow the same tragic path. She chose conscience over self-preservation, understanding fully the risks of challenging someone as powerful as Farid Khoury. Her investigation began quietly, methodically. Yasmin reached out to other dancers who had worked at Farid's venues over the past 5 years, tracking down women who had suddenly left Dubai or simply vanished from the entertainment scene. What she discovered was a chilling pattern of manipulation and control that extended far beyond Ava's case. Marina, a Romanian dancer, had disappeared in 2019 after becoming Farid's protégé. Her social media accounts went silent overnight, and inquiries about her whereabouts were met with vague explanations about family emergencies. Sofia, a Ukrainian performer, had lasted 3 months in 2021 before abruptly leaving Dubai with no forwarding address. Each woman had received the same special treatment: expensive gifts, private apartments, exclusive access to Farid's inner circle. The financial patterns were consistent across all cases. Money flowed through business accounts to cover rent, living expenses, and luxury items, creating complete dependency. Phone records showed frequent communication that would suddenly cease, followed by immediate departures from the country. Hotel receipts and restaurant charges painted pictures of romantic relationships that ended in mysterious circumstances. Yasmin documented everything meticulously, creating a comprehensive dossier that revealed at least 3 similar cases over 5 years. She collected screenshots of social media posts before they were deleted, recorded threatening phone calls that came to her own phone after word spread about her inquiries, and gathered testimonies from club employees who had witnessed the same pattern repeatedly. The breakthrough came when she contacted Ava's parents directly. Tom and Linda Montgomery had been devastated by the suicide ruling but harbored their own doubts about their daughter's supposed depression. Armed with Yasmin's evidence, they hired a private investigation firm with extensive Dubai connections, determined to uncover the truth about their daughter's death. The alliance between Yasmin, the Montgomery family, and private investigator James Crawford proved formidable. Crawford's technical expertise revealed that the hotel's security footage hadn't been completely destroyed. Backup systems had captured partial recordings from alternate angles. More importantly, his contacts within Dubai's law enforcement community ensured that new evidence would reach the right people. In October 2023, an anonymous package arrived at the Dubai police headquarters containing Yasmin's complete documentation of Farid's pattern with young dancers. The evidence was too comprehensive and damning to ignore, forcing authorities to reopen what had been considered a closed case. Detective Sarah Al-Mansouri, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for thoroughness, was assigned to lead the review. Her team's independent medical examination revealed what the original autopsy had missed: defensive wounds on Ava's hands and arms, clear indicators of a struggle that contradicted the suicide theory. Technical analysis of the hotel's security system confirmed deliberate tampering, with digital forensics experts reconstructing the timeline of the mysterious 3-minute glitch. Cloud backup services yielded deleted messages from Ava's phone, revealing the true nature of her relationship with Farid and her growing desperation in the final weeks. The financial audit painted a devastating picture of systematic grooming. Money trails showed how Farid had gained complete control over Ava's life through calculated generosity, creating dependency that made escape nearly impossible. Witness interviews with club employees, emboldened by the renewed investigation, revealed a culture of silence that had protected Farid's predatory behavior for years. By November, the investigation net was closing around Farid. Surveillance teams monitored his communications from Beirut, while authorities quietly secured his assets pending formal charges. Hotel staff members, facing potential charges as accomplices, began cooperating with investigators in exchange for leniency. The evidence mounting against Farid was overwhelming. Alternative security footage showed him on the rooftop terrace during the crucial time period when the main cameras had mysteriously malfunctioned. Phone records revealed his location data contradicted his alibi, while communication history showed the calculated nature of his relationship with Ava. Even Layla provided crucial testimony, confirming the timeline of her ultimatum and revealing her husband's obvious distress in the days leading up to Ava's death. Business partners, recognizing the liability of association with someone under investigation for murder, quickly distanced themselves from Farid and his enterprises. December brought the climax of the investigation. When Farid attempted to flee to Lebanon permanently, authorities were waiting at Dubai International Airport. His arrest on charges of first-degree murder, evidence tampering, and corruption marked the end of months of careful investigation and the beginning of justice for Ava Montgomery. The case that had begun as a tragic suicide had been revealed as calculated murder, exposing a predator who had operated with impunity for years. As Farid sat in custody, denied bail due to flight risk and evidence tampering concerns, Yasmin finally found the peace that had eluded her since that terrible September morning. Ava's voice, silenced on a Dubai rooftop, had finally been heard through the courage of those who refused to let her story end with a lie. The truth had emerged not through headlines or public outcry, but through the quiet determination of people who believed justice mattered more than convenience. March 2024 brought the trial that would finally deliver justice for Ava Montgomery, though few would ever know the full details. The proceedings were conducted behind closed doors, with media restrictions protecting ongoing investigations into similar cases across Dubai's entertainment industry. In the sterile courtroom of Dubai's criminal court, the truth about Ava's death would finally be told in its entirety. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. Digital evidence reconstructed Farid's calculated planning, from his research into hotel security systems to his manipulation of staff schedules. Phone records revealed the systematic nature of his grooming process, while financial documents showed how he had gained complete control over Ava's life through carefully orchestrated generosity. Yasmin's testimony was perhaps the most powerful moment of the trial. With quiet dignity, she described watching Ava's transformation from confident artist to isolated victim, her voice breaking as she recounted their final conversation. The medical examiner's detailed explanation of Ava's defensive wounds left no doubt that she had fought desperately for her life on that rooftop terrace. Technical experts explained how the security system had been deliberately compromised, while hotel staff reluctantly testified about Farid's unusual requests for minimal security presence and rooftop access. Previous victims of Farid's manipulation took the stand, their testimonies revealing a pattern of predatory behavior spanning 5 years. Farid's defense team, led by one of Dubai's most expensive law firms, attempted to portray the relationship as consensual and Ava's death as a tragic accident. Character witnesses described his reputation as a respected businessman and family man. Layla's testimony, while damaging to Farid, revealed the complex pressures that had driven him to increasingly desperate measures. The cross-examination was brutal, with defense attorneys attacking the credibility of witnesses and suggesting that Ava's emotional instability had led to suicide. But the prosecution's rebuttal was overwhelming: physical evidence that couldn't be disputed, digital trails that revealed premeditation, and a pattern of behavior that painted Farid as a calculated predator. After 3 days of careful deliberation, the jury returned with a guilty verdict for first-degree murder. The judge sentenced Farid to 25 years to life imprisonment, ensuring he would spend the remainder of his life in UAE maximum security facilities. His immediate appeal was filed but would ultimately fail. The aftermath of the trial rippled quietly through Dubai's entertainment industry. New regulations were implemented requiring stricter oversight of venues employing foreign performers, while visa protections were enhanced to prevent the kind of financial dependency that had trapped Ava. Mirage and Farid's other venues were permanently closed, their assets liquidated to fund a compensation program for victims. The Montgomery family established the Ava Montgomery Foundation, dedicated to protecting vulnerable performers in the entertainment industry. Yasmin, finally free from the guilt that had consumed her, became a vocal advocate for dancer safety, opening her own academy with comprehensive training programs that included personal safety education alongside artistic instruction. Policy reforms extended beyond the entertainment sector, with the UAE implementing stronger protections for foreign workers across all industries. Anonymous reporting systems were established, and mandatory safety training became required for venues employing overseas performers. A small memorial garden was dedicated to Ava's memory in a quiet corner of Dubai Marina, not far from where she had lived and dreamed of her future. Each September, members of the dance community gather there for a simple ceremony, honoring not just Ava but all the vulnerable women who had fallen victim to those who prey on dreams and desperation. The systemic changes happened without fanfare, implemented quietly to avoid drawing attention to the failures that had allowed Farid's predatory behavior to continue unchecked for years. Industry culture slowly shifted toward accountability, with performers developing informal networks to share information about potentially dangerous situations. Farid serves his sentence in isolation, his business empire dissolved and his reputation destroyed. Layla rebuilt her life away from the scandal with her daughters, finally free from the marriage that had become a prison of complicity and silence. For Yasmin, justice came not just through the courtroom verdict but through the knowledge that her courage had prevented other young women from suffering Ava's fate. The protection networks that emerged from the case created a safety net that hadn't existed when Ava first arrived in Dubai with her dreams and $3,000 savings. Today, Ava Montgomery's story serves as both warning and inspiration within Dubai's dance community. Her light was dimmed on that September night, but it illuminated the darkness for others, ensuring that predators like Farid could no longer operate with impunity behind the glittering facade of luxury and success. In Dubai's towering hotels and exclusive venues, her memory whispers a truth that power and money tried to silence. That even when the powerful attempt to bury justice, there will always be those willing to dig until the truth emerges. Sometimes justice comes quietly, but it comes nonetheless.